Welcome to my channel. If you like my videos, then kindly subscribe, like and watch. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear friends and students, today I will teach you chapter number 6, and the topic is sharing stresses in beam and thin wall member. I have divided this lecture into different parts. So let's start with part number 1. The course content of this lecture is that in this lecture we will discuss the introduction, then we will discuss share on horizontal face of beam, and then example 6.01. So these are the course content of part first of this lecture. In previous lecture, chapter number 4 and 5, we have studied that if you have a beam and that beam is subjected to movement, and this movement is like that, so it will, and let's say the length of beam is, original length is L0, so it will bend like this. Clear? So the upper portion is in compression while the lower portion or lower surface in tension. Similarly, we have also studied that there is a axis which is known as neutral axis, which do not contract or extend, and the length of this neutral axis will remain same as that of original length. Clear? So the length below the neutral axis increases, or and the length above the neutral of the surface of the above the neutral axis contracts. And we have also derived the equation that m sigma max is equal to mc over I, where m is the bending moment, c is the distance from neutral axis to the topmost or bottommost surface, I is the second moment of inertia. Similarly, we can also have equation my over I, that is minus, and this y is variable distance from neutral axis to the outermost, and this y is greater or equal to 0 and less or equal to c. So in this lecture we find out how to calculate the maximum stresses and how to find a stress at any point above or below the neutral axis. Then in chapter number 5 we discuss how to find the shear force diagram and bending moment diagram. In this chapter number 5 we discussed how to find the shear force equation, and then how to draw the shear force diagram, and then how to find the bending moment equation, and then we derive the bending moment diagram. From this shear force diagram and bending moment diagram we find out the maximum bending stresses and maximum shear forces, because we studied that along the length of the beam the shear force and bending moment varies. So in how to find the maximum bending moment that is acting on the beam throughout the length and shear force, we discussed that, and we found how to calculate the maximum shear stress and bending stresses in the from the shear force and bending moment diagram, and how to calculate the maximum bending moment as well. Also, you know that whenever, let's say, we have a beam and that beam is applied with a load P, and this load is a transverse load because it is acting perpendicular to the axis of this beam. So if you cut the beam at any section, so definitely there will be a shear force that will be acting downward, and there will be a movement. Clear? So this shear force is vertical shear force. Now in this lecture, in today's lecture, we will discuss that due to this force there are always shear force in horizontal exist as well, because you can see here that in this beam, if we divide it into layers, so each layer will slide over each other. So sliding of this layer over each other means that there exists a shear force, and that is known as horizontal shear force and represented by H. So in this lecture we will discuss in detail how to find this horizontal shear forces or horizontal shear stresses. So previously we have studied that this was the beam that was sectioned at any point. So and this beam was acted upon by a movement. So if we if we take a section of the beam, so definitely for transverse loading there will be a shear force that will be acting at this point, that is represented as V, and there will be a bending moment M. This X is the direction of the beam length. This X is in the direction of beam length. This is Y is in height and Z is in this direction. Clear? So from chapter number 4 we have find out that this is the moment that is acting in this XY plane or in Z plane, a movement about the Z plane. And if we take a small differential area over this surface at different points, let me zoom it as well. So if you take the small differential area, so we find out that there is a normal stress that is acting, and this normal stress is sigma x into dA. Also on any phase there are three forces acting. One is normal and two is the shear force. So one is this force that is acting in x direction and represented as sigma x into dA. The second force is in z direction, and similarly if this is the small differential area, so in this direction this is tau of xz, shear force acting in the direction of z, and this is the x plane. This surface is in x plane, so there will be a shear force that will be tau of xz. Also there is a force in shear force in y direction, and this is represented as tau of x y, and that is shear stress that is acting in y direction. If we multiply these stresses with the differential area, we will get the normal stress in x direction, shear stress in y direction, and shear stress in z direction. This force is tau of xz into dA. All we have discussed these things. So transverse loading applied to a beam result in normal and shear stresses in transverse section. Distribution of normal and shearing stresses satisfies all these 6 equations of equilibrium. In previous we only discussed the sum of all forces acting on x direction is equal to 0, and the sum of all movement about the z direction is equal to 0. Clear? Now you can see if we apply these equilibrium equations on this surface, sum of all forces along x direction must be equal to 0, and only force that is acting along the x direction is sigma x into dA. So if we integrate it over the surface, so total net force acting on this phase and the force acting in x direction will be equal to integral of sigma x dA is equal to 0. Similarly, then in the direction of y there are forces, shear forces that is acting, and that this force is tau of xy into dA. So if sum of all forces along y direction is not equal to 0, because it is the net shear force that is acting in this direction. So this Fy is represented of integral of tau of xy dA, and it is equal to minus V because it is acting downward. So on this phase there is a shear force acting which is acting downward. Clear? So this shear force, the net of this shear force will be the net shear force. Similarly, in z direction there is also shear stress acting. So sum of all the forces along z direction will be equal to 0, because in this diagram, if I remove these things from this figure, so you will find out that there is only shear force acting downward. So that's why sum of all forces along y direction will be equal to the net shear force acting on this face. Similarly, if there is no force in x direction, therefore the sum of all force along x direction is equal to 0, and there is no force acting in z direction, therefore sum of all forces along z direction must be equal to 0. So if you take the integral of tau of xz into dA, it must be equal to 0, because there exist shear stresses along the z direction, but their net effect must be equal to 0. Also, you can see that this movement along the movement that is produced due to this normal stress, which is equal to sigma A, and perpendicular is distance is z. So movement about this y-axis is equal to integral of sigma x dA into perpendicular distance z, and that must be equal to 0, because we have studied that this is the plane where this movement, net reaction moment, is applied, and this y-axis and x-axis are lies in that plane. So if a moment is applied on a plane and the axis that is contained in that plane, so moment about that axis will be equal to 0. So moment about y will be equal to 0, and moment about x will be equal to 0. But you can see this moment is about z-axis. Clear? So it will be equal to, it will be not equal to 0, it will be equal to m. Here it is written as 0, but it's wrong. It will be m, because we have studied it earlier. Similarly, the stresses, the moment produced due to the shear force in x direction is mx, and that is equal to, you can see this is in x direction, shear force is in x direction, in x plane. This is the shear force in y direction, and both are acting in x plane. So moment about x axis will be integral of tau of xz into y minus z into tau of xy dA is equal to 0, because you can see that this is the force which is tau of xy into dA, shear stress force, and it is acting perpendicular to perpendicular distance from x-axis is z. So it will tend to rotate it in this force, that this force is acting like this, so it will tend to rotate in clockwise direction. So that is, it is why minus z into tau of xy, clear, into dA. And similarly, this shear force in z direction, tau of xz, is also producing a moment about this axis, and this is the tau of xz, and perpendicular distance from this x-axis is y, clear, and it is producing a counterclockwise movement. That is why y into tau z into dA, and their sum must be equal to 0, because we have already discussed that this axis lies in the plane containing moment, so moment about x plane will be equal to 0. Therefore we have written that mx is integral of y tau of xz minus z into tau of xy into dA is equal to 0. Similarly, moment about y-axis will be also 0, and the only moment produced by about y-axis is due to this normal stress, and that is equal to 0. Similarly, moment about z is equal to net moment that is given over here as m, and it is equal to integral of minus y into sigma x. All these things have been discussed earlier also. Now you can see there is a shear force acting on this face, and this shear force is given over here, and that is tau of xy, because this plane is x plane and this shear stress is acting in y direction, so that is why tau of xy. Now there is a shear stress on this face, so obviously there will be a shear stress on the other side of the face. Clear? And by this you can see that this force is upward and this force, shear force, is downward, so it tend to rotate the this section in clockwise direction. So in order to counter react, or in order to make the equilibrium, these are the perpendicular faces. So the horizontal faces are vertical faces. So there will be also a shear force in horizontal faces, and this horizontal stresses will also produce a counterclockwise effect in order to keep it in equilibrium. So when shearing stress are exerted on the vertical faces of an element, so this was the shearing stress that is acting on the vertical faces. Equal stresses must be exerted on the horizontal faces. So the same shear stress will be also exerted on the horizontal faces in order to keep it in equilibrium condition. So longitudinal shearing stress must exist in any member subjected to transverse loading. So again, these are longitudinal stresses, and that is acting in horizontal direction, and these are the shear stress due to transverse loading, and that is acting on the vertical faces. So this sentence is saying that longitudinal shear stresses must exist in any member subject to transverse loading, that if any member is applied with transverse loading, so definitely there will be a longitudinal stresses on the horizontal faces. Also, it is given in the book, you can see this is the tau of xy, so this will be the same as tau of yx, and it is also derived in the book that this tau of xy is equal to tau of yx. Similarly, again, if you have tau of xz, that will be equal to tau of zx. So if you have tau of xy is equal to 0, for example, so you can consider that the longitudinal stress on this horizontal face is also 0. If this is 0, vertical is 0, so it will be also 0. The next topic is shear on horizontal face of the beam. So you can see this is a simply supported beam, and that is acted upon by load. P1 is concentrated load, P2 is also concentrated, and W is uniformly distributed load. The cross section of the beam is shown here. This is, you can say, the side view of the beam. If you find out the horizontal shear force, so we take out a section that is under the uniformly distributed load. The beam is shown in this. Clear? Let this, the neutral axis is in longitudinal direction. Clear? That is longitudinal axis defined in this axis, in this section of the beam. Now, for our analysis purpose, we are going to take out a small portion of the beam, that is portion CD, C dash, D dash, and the thickness of this portion is represented as delta x. Delta x is very small thickness. Clear? So the lower portion of this portion CD, C dash, D dash, the lower face is at a distance of y1 from the neutral axis, and similarly the outermost surface or CD face is at a distance of C from the neutral axis, because C is the maximum distance from the neutral axis to the outermost surface. Clear? So we will find out the horizontal shear force. So if we separate this portion CD, C dash, D dash from this beam, so there are the forces that is acted upon on this portion. So as this beam is under the distributed load, so definitely there will be a distributed load W that will be acting on CD. Clear? Also, when you section the beam over this sides, so definitely there will be a shear force VD at the point D or at the face D, and there will be a shear force at this face C dash. Clear? Now remember one thing, that whenever a beam is subjected to transverse loading, so there will be a shear force at the cutout section and there will be a bending moment. Clear? So in this case the shear force is represented but bending moment is not represented over here. And also we know that bending moment is equal to my over I. Clear? Where m is the bending moment, y is the distance from neutral axis to the any point where you want to find the stress, and it's a variable, and I is the second moment of inertia. So instead of bending moment, we have represented the bending moment in terms of bending stress. So at point C, this bending stress will be equal to mc y over I, and at point D the stress will be md y over I. So instead of showing the moment, we have represented the stresses on face C dash and D dash. Clear? Now you can see that this stress is the linear function of this y. So when y is maximum, means when y is maximum, or when it will be maximum, when it will be at this point. Clear? So stress will be maximum. Similarly, when y is decreasing, so stress is decreasing, and it is represented here in this figure. So the stress at face C will be sigma C, and stress at face D is sigma D. And generally we are finding out the horizontal shears, so we will convert this stress into force. So when you multiply this stress with their areas, differential area dA, so you will get the horizontal normal force. Also when you slice or when you separate this section from the beam, so there will be a horizontal shear force that is represented as delta x, and we are interested to find out delta h or horizontal shear force. So how we will find out this shear force? So we will apply the equilibrium condition, that sum of all force along x direction that must be equal to 0. Now you can see there are forces, one is horizontal force and two are the horizontal shear force, and two are the normal stresses that are acting on this beam or on this portion of the beam. So we will see there is a delta H force that is acting again, plus we have integral of sigma C minus sigma D into dA force that is acting over the area A. Their sum must be equal to 0. One is sigma C. Sigma C is acting in positive x direction and sigma D is acting in negative direction. And we have integrated in order to find the net force acting on this face and this face. Clear? Now we know that delta H will be equal to delta H plus, it will be equal to integral of, instead of sigma C and sigma D, I will write mCyi over mCy over I and minus mdy y over I multiply by the differential area is equal to 0. Clear? So you can see y is common, so we can write them as delta H plus integral of mc minus md over I into y dA, that is equal to 0, and this integral over area A. Now you can see this is the constant term, mc is constant, md is constant, and I is constant, so we will take it out of the integral. So it will be mc minus md over I into integral of y dA is equal to 0 over the area. As y is variable, its value is changing from the neutral axis, so we cannot take it out of integral. Clear? Now we know that this integral of y into dA over the entire area is known as first moment of inertia, and it is represented as q. Clear? So we will put the value over here. So delta H plus mc minus md divided by I into q, that will be equal to 0. Here also we know that mc minus this delta H will be equal to, when it will move to the right side, the equation will become md minus mc divided by I into q. So we will use this equation further to carry out to find the horizontal shear stress. Okay, so this was the equation for horizontal shear force. Now we will move forward. As you know that this md minus mc, this term md minus mc is actually, that is equal to delta m. So if you divide both sides of the equation by delta x, and delta x is a thickness of the section. Clear? So this equation will be md minus mc over delta x is equal to delta m over delta x. So this md minus mc will be equal to delta m over delta x into delta x. If this distance is very small, if delta x is very small, so we can write it as dm over dx into delta x. So md minus mc will be equal to this term. So we will put the value of md minus mc in the equation that we have derived here, that is delta H is equal to md minus mc over I into q. So we will put the value over here. So delta H will become equal to dm over dx, clear, into q over I. Clear? So now from our previous lecture in which we discussed the relationship between the bending moment and the shear force, so we wrote that dm is equal to v into dx, or dm over dx is equal to shear force. Because shear force is 1 degree lesser than the bending moment, so we take the derivative of bending moment in order to get the shear force. So if you have bending moment equation, so you can take the derivative. After that, the resultant equation will be the required shear force. So instead of dm over dx, we can also write delta H is equal to vq over I. So delta q is equal to vx into I. Also, one more thing is that in md minus, if we put the value of md minus mc over here, so it will be dm dx into delta x. So again here this will be v, this is q, and this is v, this will be delta x. So this is the equation for finding the horizontal shear force. Now there is another term that is represented as Q, and this Q is equal to shear flow. How we define shear flow? The shear flow is equal to shear stress over unit length or length. So if you have shear force, horizontal shear force as VQ into delta X over I, and the length is also, length or the thickness is also delta X, so shear flow comes out to be equal to VQ over I. This is the by shear flow we means the shear per unit length, that how much the shear force acting on a unit length or length is known as shear flow, that is equal to small q. Clear? Okay, so this is the same thing. You can see all the derivations, delta H, Q, then MD minus MC, which is equal to V into delta X. Clear? And when you substitute, you will get the horizontal shear force and then shear flow. So this was all about how to find the horizontal shear force on a beam element. Now the same thing is that we have discussed that this horizontal shear force that is acting here is delta H, and this delta H was calculated as delta H was equal to Q into delta X, and Q is equal to VQ over I into delta X. Clear? Now, and this is the shear force that is acting on face C dash D dash. Now if we take the remaining portion, let me show you this thing. If you take the remaining portion of the beam section and you want to calculate the shear force on this, clear? This is the portion that is shown C dash D dash divide over C double dash and D double dash, and you can take it as for your analysis, and you will come to know that same horizontal force here it is represented as delta H. So in this section or on this face C dash D dash, because it is C dash D dash, same horizontal shear force will be acting, but it will be in opposite direction, and this will be delta H dash. So this delta H will be equal to minus delta H. They are the same, but only direction will change. Similarly, this Q is the first moment of inertia about y1, and I is the second moment of inertia, which is equal to integral of y square dA A plus A dash. A is this area and A dash is this area. Clear? And same result found for lower area. The shear flow will be also minus Q dash. We will solve a problem in which you will further learn how to find out the shear force in beam or in any portion of the beam. So you can see example 6.01. In this problem, a beam is made of 3 planks nailed together, knowing that the spacing between nail is 25 mm and that the vertical shear in the beam is 500 Newton. So determine the shear force in each nail. So these are 3 planks. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, and they are held together by nails. Clear? You can see over here, these are the nails. Clear? And the shear force is given as V100, and you have to determine the shear force in each nail. Also, it is given that the distance between the nail is 25 mm. So if I draw it in 3-dimensional, so you can see this is the beam. So there will be one nail, there will be another nail. Throughout the length of the beam, they are held together by nail, but it is given that distance between the nail is 25 mm. So this distance is 25, this distance is 25 mm. So this distance is actually delta x. Clear? Also, you can see that this is the nail and this is the first plank, and there will be a second plank. So the shear force will be horizontal shear force will be acting over this area of the nail where both planks are meeting. So we will find the horizontal shear force in the nail. So let's start with the solution. As we know that delta H is equal to Q into delta X, and Q is equal to VQ over I into delta X. So first we will find the shear flow, which is Q is equal to VQ over I. When you will find the shear flow, then you will convert it into horizontal shear force. So we have shear force value, we do not have Q, we do not have I. So for that we will calculate first Q. As we know that Q is the first moment of inertia, and this is represented as Q is equal to A into Y dash. Now what is A? A is that area which is above the horizontal shear force. So at this joint there was a horizontal shear force, so above that area is actually A area. Clear? And this area is 0.1 meter into 0.020 meter. Also one thing, that all the dimension of the beams are shown over here that are in millimeters. So we have converted them into meter in order to have consistency in our units. Clear? So this is thickness of the flange. This is the total, this is the thickness of flange. Similarly, the lower flange will also have a thickness. Total height of the beam is 140 millimeters. Thickness of web is also 20 mm. Clear? Now what is Y dash? Y dash is actually the distance from neutral axis to the mid of this area. Now the mid of this area is this. Clear? And distance from neutral axis to mid will be this. And what is this distance? So if you look, the half of it will be 0.010, and the half of this from this to this is 0.050. So 0.050 plus 0.010. So total distance will be 0.060 meter. So when you put the value, area is this one and Y dash is this one. So it will give you the first moment of inertia for this area. Clear? Now we have to find the second moment of inertia for this beam. So you can see these beams are comprised of 3 planks. Now plank 1, upper and lower plank, it is represented as 1. Both have the same breadth and thickness, and this is 2. This plank 2, the middle web is plank or portion 2. So we know that moment of inertia for this beam will be equal to I2 plus 2 times of I1, because the moment of inertia of this 1 and 1, that is 2 times, plus the moment of inertia of this 2. So by using this equation we can find out the second moment of inertia of this beam. Also you know that moment of inertia for rectangular beam is equal to, or rectangular section is equal to 1/12 BHQ plus AD square. Now B is breadth, H is equal to height, A is the area of that section, and D is the distance from neutral axis to the centroidal section, the section centroid. In our case, for second portion of the beam or web, you can see that neutral axis is passing through centroidal section of this part 2. So D will be equal to 0 for I2. So we will calculate I is equal to I2 plus 2 times of I1. Now 1 over 12, what is B of I2, which is equal to 0.020, and total height is 100 millimeter, that is 0.100. So 1 over 12 B, and this is H cube, plus as D is equal to 0, so the remaining term will be 0, plus 2 times I1. Now what is the moment of inertia, second moment of inertia of I1, that is equal to 1 over 12 B. What is B? B is this distance which is mentioned over here. And what is height? Height is this thickness which is 0.020. So 1 over 12 BH cube plus AD square. Now what is the area of this? It is 0.100 into 0.020, that is written over here. And D square, D is the distance from neutral axis to the centroidal section centroid. So section centroid, it is 0.060. So all the values are now available. You can, if you calculate them, I will be equal to 16.20 into 10 raised to power minus 6 meter 4. Now we have V, we have Q, we have I. So you have to put the values. When you put it, you will have Q is equal to 3704 Newton per meter. So this is shear flow. In order to find the horizontal force delta H, so delta H will be equal to Q into delta X. So Q is also available, and delta X is the distance between two consecutive nails. So here they have represented horizontal shear force as F, and we have written delta H is equal to Q into delta X. So if we replace delta H with F, so F will be equal to Q into X. Clear? So Q is 3704 Newton per meter, and X is 25 millimeter, which is equal to 0.025. So when you multiply this, so horizontal shear force comes out to be 92.6 Newton. So this was all about part first of the chapter number 6. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have any question, you can ask in comment section. Thank you.